truly just want the best for me too at the end of the day.
Now those words hit harder, because Caitlin Clark just shocked the WNBA by signing a $50 million EuroLeague deal she calls life-changing. But what happens to her WNBA future and the league itself? Cathy Engelbert is panicking, and I've got all the details. Let's break it down. $50 million deal. $50 million. That's the number that has sent shockwaves through the WNBA, rattling executives, players, and fans alike. In a move that no one thought possible this soon, Caitlin Clark, the rookie phenom the league has been banking its entire marketing machine on, has reportedly signed a staggering $50 million contract to join a EuroLeague powerhouse. And make no mistake, this isn't just about the money. This is about power, control, and a player refusing to play by the unspoken rules of an American sports system that expected her to stay put and stay quiet. And the kicker? The WNBA never saw it coming. Reports began circulating late last night that Clark's representatives had been in secret negotiations for weeks with one of Europe's biggest women's basketball clubs, a team with deep-pocketed ownership and a reputation for snatching top American talent away from the W. The deal? A multi-year agreement worth more than 600 times her WNBA rookie base salary. For context, Caitlin's current contract with the Indiana Fever pays her $76,000 for the entire 42-game season, less than some NBA players make in a single quarter. It's a staggering contrast, and for many, a painful reminder that the WNBA's biggest stars have been chronically undervalued for decades. And yet, as shocking as this EuroLeague deal is, the real bombshell is why Caitlin took it. According to sources close to the negotiations, Clark's frustrations with the WNBA had been building for months. Publicly, she played the part of the upbeat rookie, always smiling in interviews, praising her teammates, and keeping her comments diplomatic. But behind the scenes, multiple insiders claim she was fed up with what she saw as the league's slow-motion commitment to improving player pay, travel, and working conditions. Even in the midst of this so-called watershed season, Clark knew the numbers. She'd heard the commissioner Cathy Engelbert boast about record-breaking viewership and a $200 million media rights deal. She'd seen the surge in attendance and the celebrity courtside appearances, but she also saw her paycheck, and it wasn't changing anytime soon. At the time, it drew laughs. Now it reads like a prelude to a decision that could reshape women's basketball for years. But the most shocking part? Sources say the WNBA had every opportunity to make her an offer competitive enough to keep her stateside, and they passed. We'll get into why later, but first, understand this. Caitlin Clark has been the face of this league since before she even stepped on a WNBA court. The league's meteoric 153% ratings spike isn't just about a good rookie class. It's about her logo threes, her viral highlight reels, and the new generation of fans she brought with her from Iowa. So imagine the optics when the player who made the W relevant to millions of casual sports fans suddenly packs her bags for Europe. When we look back, there were signs she was quietly restless. In one pre-game media availability this July, Caitlin admitted she's not the most patient person, especially when she feels she's right on the edge of a breakthrough.
I've been in and out of the lineup, trying to come back, trying to find my legs, trying to find my shot. Like, it's just like so many different things, and also trying to help this team win. Patience-wise, I'm not a very patient person.
That statement hit differently in light of today's news. It's almost as if she knew she was running out of patience with more than just her shooting slump. And while Caitlin was busy racking up assists and buzzer beaters, the WNBA was busy, missing the bigger picture. Players were already murmuring about the upcoming collective bargaining agreement, hinting they'd demand a revenue-sharing model similar to the NBA's 50-50 split. But for rookies like Clark, that change could be years away, if it happens at all. In the meantime, EuroLeague teams have no such hesitation about paying top dollar. Their budgets aren't tied to domestic TV deals or cautious commissioners. They're fueled by wealthy owners and international sponsors who see the value in signing the most marketable player in the sport. And here's where the hypocrisy gets hard to ignore. The W has long pitched itself as a league built on opportunity, empowerment, and respect for its athletes. Yet when its biggest star asked, directly or indirectly, for that respect to show up in her paycheck, the answer was essentially, "We'll talk about it later." Well, later just became never. Make no mistake, the league is in damage control mode right now. Publicly, executives are downplaying the significance of Clark's departure, emphasizing the strength of the league as a whole. But privately, multiple insiders describe the mood at WNBA headquarters as borderline panic. Why? Because Caitlin Clark isn't just leaving for more money. She's leaving at the absolute height of her US popularity and taking that audience with her. This is a nightmare scenario for a league that, just a few months ago, was celebrating its biggest growth spurt in history. Now they're forced to explain why a 22-year-old rookie is making more overseas than their reigning MVP earns in America. She's not wrong, and the timing could not be more brutal for the W. With CBA talks looming, every other star in the league is now watching Caitlin's move and asking themselves just how much much loyalty to the WNBA is really worth. And here's the part we haven't even touched yet, the specific EuroLeague team that landed Clark, and the controversial clause in her contract that could change the way women's basketball operates worldwide. That's coming later in this video, but let's just say, once you hear it, you'll understand why this isn't just a pay gap story. No, this is the start of an exodus. The biggest shock isn't that Europe wanted Caitlin Clark, it's that they were willing to break the mold to get her. And here's where the tension really boils over. Caitlin didn't just walk away quietly. Multiple sources claim she deliberately timed her announcement to coincide with the league's most high-profile playoff stretch, the exact moment when TV cameras, sports talk shows, and social media attention were at their peak. That timing isn't random, it's a statement. Think about it. For months, the WNBA has been touting its success story, packed arenas, international media coverage, celebrity endorsements. Caitlin's move takes the spotlight the league built and points it somewhere else entirely. And this isn't just any rookie. This is the same player who, according to Commissioner Kathy Engelbert herself, brought an unbelievable following and a lot of new fans to the league. Which begs the question, if she's that valuable, why wasn't the WNBA willing to fight harder to keep her? If Clark's $50 million EuroLeague deal proves anything, it's that the pie exists. It's just that in the US, players have been getting crumbs. But Caitlin's move isn't just a financial play. There's an emotional layer here too, one that's been quietly building since her early WNBA days. Go back to her pre-game comments against the Dallas Wings this summer. She talked about the grind of the schedule, the challenge of playing back-to-backs, and the pressure to deliver every single night.
Then we go on the road and we're on a back-to-back, which is just a challenge in itself. No matter who you're playing, we play Connecticut, then we play New York. Our focus is on these 3 games that we have left.
That's a subtle but telling insight. Even in a league celebrating its watershed moment, players are grinding through the same grueling travel and scheduling issues that have frustrated them for decades. Overseas, Clark will get something the W can't always promise: consistency. Consistent pay, consistent facilities, consistent rest. And for a player who admits she's not a very patient person, the appeal of that stability can't be overstated. Now, here's where things get even more volatile. Multiple reports suggest that Caitlin's EuroLeague contract includes a performance-based social media clause, a built-in bonus system that rewards her for hitting certain follower and engagement milestones. If true, this means her income is directly tied to her personal brand reach, something the WNBA has benefited from for free. And that might be the most devastating detail for the league. They've been using her image, her highlights, her story, without paying anywhere near her market value for it. It's almost poetic. The WNBA's marketing department spent the past year telling the world that Caitlin Clark was the future of women's basketball. Now, the future is wearing a EuroLeague jersey. But here's the twist. This move might not just change her life. It might change the entire ecosystem of women's pro basketball. Already, whispers are circulating that other top W players, including established veterans and rising stars, have been contacted by international teams about similar big money deals. If Caitlin's gamble works, it could trigger the first mass migration of talent from the WNBA to Europe in the league's history. And that's the part that should terrify W executives the most. This isn't just one player leaving. This is the possibility of a precedent being set. What happened in the hours after this news broke might be the clearest sign yet that Caitlin Clark just blew the door wide open. The first ripple hit social media within minutes of the news dropping. Twitter, or rather X, exploded. Within an hour, #Clark to Europe was trending globally. Sports journalists scrambled to confirm the story, but by then, Caitlin's own camp had already made it official. A sleek, minimalist post, just a EuroLeague team logo, her initials CC, and a simple caption. The replies were immediate and polarizing. On one side, fans praising her for finally getting what she's worth, calling her move a wake-up call for women's sports. On the other, accusations of abandoning the W and selling out the league that gave her a platform. The divide was stark, and it wasn't just fans arguing. Fellow players were weighing in too. A former WNBA MVP tweeted, "Don't blame her, blame the system. If the bag is overseas, go secure it." Meanwhile, a current WNBA All-Star fired back, "We need to fight together for better pay here. Running to Europe doesn't fix the problem." In the middle of it all, Caitlin herself stayed quiet. Not a single interview, not a single clarifying comment, which only made the speculation grow louder. And then came the TV talking heads. Every sports debate show from ESPN to FS1 dedicated segments to the Clark situation. The narratives ranged from "she's a trailblazer" to "she just doomed the WNBA's momentum." But perhaps the most telling coverage came from NBA players, many of whom have been vocal allies of the W1 veteran Bulgarian guard posted on Instagram. If she was a man, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. $50 million wouldn't be shocking. It'd be expected. That post got over 1 million likes in less than 24 hours. What's fascinating is that this isn't the first time a WNBA star has gone overseas for big money, but it's the first time it's happened in the middle of a league-wide surge, during what many were calling the golden moment of women's basketball. The timing is the dagger here. Insiders tell me that 3 other current WNBA players, all starters, all under the age of 28, have reached out to European clubs in the last 48 hours. That's not rumor, that's happening. For years, the WNBA has sold itself as the pinnacle of women's basketball. But Caitlyn's move proves there's another peak, one that pays better, treats players better, and offers global exposure the W can't match right now. And that's the part the league doesn't want to admit. It's not that they can't compete with Europe's money, it's that they didn't think they had to. They do now, because Caitlin Clark just showed every player in the W that loyalty doesn't pay the bills. And for a league that's been trying to convince sponsors, networks, and fans that it's on the verge of breaking into the sport's mainstream, this is a gut punch. What happens next will define the WNBA's future. Do they rally, adapt, and meet players where they are? Or do they double down on a system that's already showing cracks? We'll see. Now we're going to break down exactly which EuroLeague team landed Caitlin Clark, the controversial clause that could let her bypass certain WNBA restrictions entirely, and why European basketball executives are openly calling this the first domino. If you thought $50 million was the whole story, you haven't heard anything yet. The mystery is over. Multiple European sports outlets have now confirmed that Caitlin Clark's $50 million deal is with Fenerbahçe Alagaz Holding, the Turkish basketball powerhouse that has dominated EuroLeague women for the past decade. If you don't follow European women's hoops, you might not grasp just how massive this is. Fenerbahçe isn't just a big team. They are the elite destination for top-tier talent. They've won back-to-back EuroLeague titles, have a roster stacked with former WNBA stars, and, here's the kicker, their ownership group has access to financial resources that rival entire leagues. When they want a player, they don't just open the checkbook, they throw it on the table. And in Caitlin's case, they didn't just throw money, they offered something no WNBA contract can legally provide. Why is that a big deal? Because in the WNBA, the expectation is full control over your schedule. Media appearances, marketing events, even the timing of your off-season is dictated by the league. In Fenerbahçe's world, Caitlin calls more of her own shots. This isn't just about time off, this is about freedom. The freedom to manage her body, her image, and maybe most importantly, her brand. Think back to the travel grind she described just last month.
And then we go on the road and, we're on a back-to-back, which is just a challenge in itself. No matter who you're playing, we play Connecticut, then we play New York. Our focus is on these 3 games that we have left.
In EuroLeague, there's no such thing as a 10-hour travel day followed by another game 24 hours later. Not when your star player has her own luxury travel arrangement and the option to strategically rest. And here's where the WNBA's problem deepens. Caitlin's contract has been structured in such a way that she could, in theory, play a partial WNBA season without violating her EuroLeague agreement. That autonomy clause isn't just a perk, it's a weapon. In practical terms, this means she could fly back to the States mid-year, sign a short-term deal, and cash in twice in the same calendar year. Imagine the headlines if she walks into the W mid-season next year, fresh from a EuroLeague championship run. The hype alone would dwarf anything the league has seen in decades, and the WNBA knows it. Now let's talk strategy, because this move isn't just about Caitlin Clark. EuroLeague insiders are openly calling this the first domino. In an interview with a major European sports paper, one Fenerbahçe executive didn't mince words. Our ambition is to make EuroLeague women the ultimate destination for the sport. Caitlin Clark is the beginning of that era. That's not just bravado, it's a calculated statement. They're aiming to turn Europe into what the NBA was in the 1980s, the cultural and competitive center of the sport. And they're starting by poaching the W's most bankable name. Why now? Because they smell weakness. The WNBA is still celebrating record numbers, but those numbers haven't translated into player salaries anywhere near global market value. Even with that $200 million TV deal, base pay for rookies like Clark sits at $76,000. MVPs make $200,000. Meanwhile, EuroLeague can cut a single $50 million check without blinking and still make the math work through sponsorships, merchandise, and streaming rights. And here's the kicker. European teams aren't weighed down by the same salary cap politics that keep WNBA payrolls microscopic. In the W, a team can want to pay more, but the cap says otherwise. In Europe, if ownership wants to drop 8 figures on a single player, they just do it. It's worth noting that Caitlin's arrival is expected to trigger a sponsorship windfall for Fenerbahçe. One source close to the negotiations claims that at least 4 major US-based brands are preparing to sign on as team sponsors specifically because of her. That's an American player driving American dollars into a European league. Exactly the opposite of what the WNBA's been trying to achieve. And this is where the EuroLeague's long game comes into focus. If they can turn one Caitlin Clark signing into a model, they'll have a blueprint to lure the next Angel Reese, the next Aja Wilson, Nelson, the next Breanna Stewart. Here's the wild part. Caitlyn's deal reportedly even includes an equity stake in a new EuroLeague media venture. That means she's not just making money as a player, she's making money as a part owner of the content that features her. In the WNBA, that's not even on the table. Let's be clear, this isn't just about basketball anymore. This is about the business of basketball. And on that battlefield, the W is walking into a war it's not prepared for. Because while the WNBA is still trying to convince the world that it deserves a bigger slice of the sports pie, the EuroLeague is out here baking its own pie and inviting the W's best players to come take a slice for themselves. And Caitlin Clark just took the biggest slice anyone's ever seen. So what happens next? In the short term, expect the WNBA to play hard defense in the media, downplaying the significance, highlighting league parity, and stressing that one player doesn't define the sport. But behind closed doors, they're bracing for more departures. Because here's the truth, the W doesn't have to lose all its stars for this to be a crisis. It just has to lose enough that fans start asking a dangerous question. If the best players are in Europe, why am I watching the WNBA? Fenerbahce didn't just make history with the size of Caitlin Clark's contract. They made another statement about intent. The club has long had the resources to lure stars, but this deal goes beyond securing a trophy. It's about planting a flag in the middle of the global sports landscape and saying, the center of women's basketball is no longer in America. To understand why this is seismic, you have to grasp how EuroLeague Women operates. It's not a single commercial entity like the WNBA, where every team is bound by the same salary cap and central office rules. It's a competition between champions from different national leagues, many of which are backed by multi-billion-dollar sports clubs with huge football, soccer revenues. Fenerbahce's parent organization isn't just a basketball team. It's a sprawling sports empire with an 18 million-strong fan base, a global merchandise machine, and lucrative broadcast deals. Signing Caitlin Clark isn't a gamble for them. It's an investment they expect to pay back tenfold. Compare that to the WNBA's marketing approach, where even the league's most visible stars often have limited mainstream exposure outside of ESPN highlights and the occasional Nike ad. And this is where the economics hit hardest. European clubs can offer these perks because they operate outside the WNBA's shared revenue model. They can sign separate sponsorships, sell broadcast rights to individual games, and negotiate directly with global brands without having to split revenue 12 ways. One EuroLeague agent put it bluntly in a recent interview. In the WNBA, a star generates millions for the league and sees a fraction of it. In Europe, we build the deal around the player, not the league. That player-first mentality is exactly what's attracting talent, and Caitlin Clark is now the most visible proof of concept. But here's the dangerous part for the WNBA. Caitlin's move isn't just attractive to superstars. It's attractive to the next tier of players, the ones who are good enough to be all-stars, but not necessarily the face of the league. For them, a $1 $2 million EuroLeague offer with better living conditions could be life-changing. If even 10-15% of WNBA talent starts spending the bulk of their careers overseas, the ripple effect on competitiveness, fan loyalty, and sponsorship interest will be devastating. And Caitlin's deal goes beyond money and autonomy. It positions her as a global ambassador for women's sports. The EuroLeague reportedly plans to involve her in youth clinics across Turkey, Spain, and Italy, positioning her as the face of their development programs. Imagine the long-term brand loyalty that builds when a 12-year-old in Istanbul's first basketball camp is run by Caitlin Clark herself. It's no coincidence that EuroLeague officials are now quietly circulating talking points to agents about the Caitlin model. They're not hiding it. They want to replicate this exact scenario, identify the next breakout American star, offer them financial freedom and brand control, and slowly shift the gravitational pull of women's basketball eastward. The WNBA has been riding the wave of its watershed season, pointing to attendance spikes and record-breaking viewership. But those metrics mean little if the product on the court starts to hollow out. And that's exactly what EuroLeague strategists are banking on, that the WNBA's cautious approach to player pay will open the door for them to snatch away its brightest lights. The truly unsettling part? Caitlin hasn't even played a game for Fenerbahce yet, and already their preseason ticket packages are reportedly outselling last year's entire season. That's the Caitlin effect, and it's happening in a league thousands of miles from the Fever's home court. Now the question is, will the WNBA respond with bold action, or watch as the first domino tips over the entire table? Let's step inside the closed-door meetings where league officials are scrambling to contain the fallout, including one radical proposal that could shatter decades of WNBA tradition: the WNBA's crisis meeting. The day after Caitlin Clark's EuroLeague deal was confirmed, WNBA leadership called an urgent meeting at their New York headquarters. It was a full-day session, bringing together Commissioner Kathy Engelbert, team governors, senior league executives, and selected player representatives. According to those familiar with the meeting, the agenda had 3 main points: assess the immediate impact of Clark's departure, discuss how to address player retention, and prepare a public response that would keep the league's momentum intact. One of the first topics discussed was the league's current pay structure. Several attendees attendees pointed out the glaring gap between the WNBA's maximum salaries and what top players can earn overseas. For rookies like Clark, the difference is especially stark. Her WNBA rookie base salary is $76,000, while EuroLeague clubs can offer multi-million-dollar contracts without the same restrictions. While Engelbert emphasized the league's ongoing growth, record attendance, a new $200 million media rights deal, and increased sponsorship interest, the question in the room was how much of that growth should be passed on directly to players. The discussion moved toward potential short-term solutions. One proposal on the table was to introduce a marquee player exception, a mechanism that would allow each team to pay one or two players above the existing salary cap without penalty. The goal would be to make competitive offers to top talent and prevent more players from leaving mid-career for higher-paying overseas deals. However, there were disagreements. Some team owners argued that raising salaries too quickly could create financial strain for smaller market franchises. Others suggested that the focus should be on long-term revenue growth and expanding the league calendar to generate more income before increasing pay. Outside of pay, the meeting also touched on working conditions and player scheduling. Clark has previously spoken about the challenges of the WNBA's compact travel schedule and back-to-back games. Improving travel conditions, building in more recovery time, and offering additional off-court support were all raised as ways to make the WNBA more attractive compared to overseas leagues that often provide private travel and more flexible schedules. Another part of the conversation focused on marketing. Some executives suggested shifting promotional resources toward other rising stars to maintain fan engagement. Players like Angel Reese, Cameron Brink, and Rickea Jackson were mentioned as potential focal points. The idea was to continue showcasing the league's depth of talent so that one departure wouldn't overshadow the entire season. Still, even with these plans, in discussion, there was a clear acknowledgement that Clark's move had changed the landscape. As one attendee reportedly put it, "This is a turning point. The market has shifted, and now we have to decide if we're willing to meet it." The WNBA's next steps will likely be a mix of public messaging, behind-the-scenes negotiations, and possible structural changes to player pay. But for now, the reality remains. Caitlin Clark will start the next stage of her career in a Fenerbahce jersey, and the league she's leaving behind has important decisions to make. Clark's move is already creating ripple effects across the basketball world. On the WNBA itself, her decision forces the league to confront questions it has been able to postpone for years, particularly around revenue sharing and player compensation. The current model pays rookies like Clark far below the market rate their influence commands, and now the league must decide whether to raise pay quickly or risk losing more players to leagues that will. It's not just about the money, though. Clark's deal with Fenerbahce includes greater autonomy over her schedule and travel, areas where WNBA players have long asked for improvement. While charter flights were introduced this season, the grind of a condensed schedule still takes a toll, something Clark has mentioned in the past. For other WNBA players, her move sets a precedent. In past years, playing overseas was largely viewed as an off-season income boost, not a replacement for a WNBA career. Clark's decision flips that narrative, showing that a player can build a primary professional identity and potentially an even larger brand outside the United States. Agents are already reporting an increase in inquiries from both players and international teams. This isn't limited to the league's top-tier stars. Mid-level WNBA players could also see significant pay increases by making the jump, especially if they have a strong social media presence or play a position in high demand overseas. In the EuroLeague, Clark's signing strengthens Fenerbahce's dominance and raises the profile of the competition as a whole. Other clubs are expected to follow suit, increasing offers to American players to close the gap in talent. That could, in turn, attract more sponsorships and media deals to European women's basketball, creating a virtuous cycle of investment and growth. From a fan perspective, the shift is mixed. Some WNBA fans will follow Clark's EuroLeague career, especially with international games being streamed and promoted more heavily. Others might feel disappointed or even disconnected from the league without her presence, particularly new fans who started following women's basketball because of her. Commissioner Engelbert has often credited Clark and her rookie class for the WNBA's surging popularity.
She's clearly an unbelievable player, came in with an unbelievable following, has brought a lot of new fans to the league.
Those new fans are exactly what the league risks losing if they can't provide a comparable platform and paycheck to keep players like Clark. The sponsorship market will also feel the impact. Brands that partnered with the WNBA specifically to align with Clark's image may now split or shift those budgets toward EuroLeague deals. This could subtly erode the WNBA's financial momentum unless it can quickly spotlight other marketable stars. In the bigger picture, Clark's move may influence the upcoming collective bargaining agreement. Player representatives will likely point to her deal as evidence that WNBA salaries need to reflect the league's growth. Even if the league doesn't adopt full revenue sharing like the NBA, the push for higher base pay and greater contractual flexibility will likely gain urgency. Caitlin Clark's decision isn't just a personal career career move. It's a market signal. It tells players, agents, and international leagues that the traditional order in women's basketball is changing. Whether the WNBA adapts or risks becoming a secondary option will be determined in the months ahead. What are your thoughts on her decision? Smart career move or a big loss for the WNBA? Share your opinion in the comments and click the card on screen for more stories just like this.